We've all been in a bazillion virtual meetings at this point, and I keep seeing 5 mistakes that just and they're so easy to fix. So in this video, I'm gonna go into each 5, show you how to level up so you don't have to worry about coming across with that eek factor in Zoom. And if we're just meeting, hi, I'm Gia Goodrich. I'm a permacurious content creator and creative strategist, and I love making videos, helping people show up as the big deal that they are. Remember they're a big deal, help other people understand that they're a big deal, and show up with that full magnetic energy in virtual meetings and in videos. And if you wanna hang out with me more than just once a week, I post lots of videos here on TikTok and behind the scenes stories on Instagram. And I'm just gonna mention, actually, this is how I show up in Zoom, but that's a lesson for another day.
But really quickly, I have a favor to ask you.
Because I know you're a super amazing, generous human, if this video ends up resonating with you, will you do me the favor of liking and also commenting? It really helps my videos get seen and also reminds me that it's not just me in my room talking to my camera, you know, that you're like a real human out there in the world. The first mistake, I'm gonna say it, it's suboptimal lighting. Now I know what you're gonna say, we're all trying to make do with the best we can. It doesn't mean you need to spend lots of money on expensive lights. It does mean that you need to be aware of it and not make sure that your back is right up to a window so we can't see any detail in your face, or that you don't have some light that's so close to your face that you're all ghosted out and don't look like yourself at all. Now I have a lot more videos on my channel all about this, so feel free to dig in, but that is definitely mistake number 1, and you don't need to spend any money. All you need to do is just put yourself close to a window, or watch a few of my videos and like implement that information. The second one is using a virtual background. Now I know what you're gonna say, like, ooh, I don't know, but it helps me feel good and safe, and there's all kind of chaos going around me. Here's the thing, if you want to use a virtual background well, you really need to invest in a green screen. And in fact, if this is interesting to you, I was kind of toying with the idea of doing a video specifically on how to do it well with an actual green screen, and one that I saw in another video that looks super cool. But if you use a virtual background and you don't actually have a green screen, you get those weird edges where the computer is trying to figure out where you start and where you begin. It's really grating on us as a viewer. Also,
It kind of makes you seem like you're insecure.
now that's really unfair for a lot of reasons. One, because it might be better for you and your privacy to use that. And also because you might just want a little more spice in your life, want to remind people of the Bahamas or somewhere cool. But it's sort of the same vibe as when people hide their hands under the table. There's just a part of our brain that thinks, ooh, I don't know if I can fully trust this person. So my advice is either to level up your virtual background by getting a green screen and doing it really well, or just cut it out and level up your background just a little bit. It doesn't take a lot of work to make it look a little bit better. Next one is your audio sucks. Should I say more about that? Just making sure that whatever microphone you're using is in front of you and trying to cut out as much sound as possible, and also really using headsets, because that kind of echoing that happens is deeply suboptimal, and hearing all the fans and dog barks in the background is not cool. Every once in a while is totally fine, but if it's happening consistently, we don't love. Next one is being too big or too small in the frame. I see people often that are either so close that they look distorted and crazy, and all you can focus on is like what color their eyebrows are. Or I see people that are so backed away from the frame that you can barely see where they are in the space, and it looks awkward and weird, and we don't trust them. A good rule of thumb is you want a little bit of headspace and you want to see most of your rib cage area. The great thing about this is it gives you room to articulate with your hands, which really ups your charisma points, but it's also close enough that we can see your facial expressions. Next one is such a pet peeve. It is people taking up too much space or not enough space. I don't mean this literally, I mean taking up time and space in the conversation without making room for other people. Right now, I'm in the part-time YouTuber Academy with Ali Abdaal, which is so great. There are so many students, there are more than like 200 of us. And every once in a while, we'll be put in breakout rooms in Zoom. But more often than not, what happens is you have a couple people that fill up all the space, talk all the time, and then there isn't enough time for some of the more quiet people who really have just as much right to be seen and be heard. So if you're someone naturally that can really take up space and also feels that awkward energy, and so you just end up raising your hand first,
Which I totally resonate with, by the way.
I challenge you to allow there to be space for other people to fill in the conversation. It's actually a technique in teaching called latency, leaving some of that dead air so other people show up and fill it. Now, on the other hand, if you're somebody who shies away from taking up lots of space for all the reasons, which are totally valid, I encourage you to think about how you can show up and take up more space, because the truth is we really want to hear from you, and your thoughts and ideas are so valid, and a lot of times you're actually more observant than a lot of us that are so busy talking talking all the time. So really make sure that you're honoring your knowledge and your perspective and your questions by challenging yourself to really show up and contribute to the conversation, even if it feels sticky and awkward and embarrassing. And of course, we have not knowing the keyboard shortcut for mute in your respective program. Now, you're going to have to look it up because it might be different between Zoom and WebEx and all these different places. If you're using Zoom on a Mac, it's Shift-Command-A. And it's a quick way to mute and unmute yourself so you don't have to search around when it's your time to contribute and chime in. It takes like 2 seconds to look up, a few more to memorize it, and I guarantee it will drastically improve your meeting. Last one, not turning your selfie view off if you are someone who is going to be distracted by looking at yourself.
A lot of people don't know that you can, but you can.
And for some of you, it might be great to be able to see yourself and check your surroundings, but for most of us, honestly, it's a distraction that makes us super self-conscious, adds to Zoom dysphoria, and doesn't really help us contribute in a meaningful way. All you have to do is look up in your respective program. It's super easy to do in Zoom. You just click the 3 dots by your picture, go to that menu, and it says hide self-view. Boom. Then it takes you out of the equation and you can just focus on the people that you're talking to. Now, if you want to learn how to show up in your full magnetic energy in virtual meetings, click the link below where I have a course to walk you through all of the things. And I hope you remember that all of this is about showing up authentically as you, remembering how amazing you are, and showing up with that energy. I'll see you next week. Bye.
You